Welcome back to the Now Morning Show. Now, following the proclamation and subsequent changes to the Public Procurement and Disposal of Public Property Act, many suppliers face challenges with the new procurement platform. The American Chamber of Commerce, Trinidad and Tobago, or AmCham, hosted a session to familiarize its members with the new platform. And this morning, the president of AmCham, Stuart Franco, joins us to talk about some of the strategies they would have discussed. Mr. Franco, good morning.
Morning.
I paused because I know you told me to call you Stuart.
Please
so
do.
we'll do Stuart from now on. So we're talking about the proclamation, the Public Procurement Act. Before we get into who can register and how you can register, can you give us an overview of what that act is supposed to do as it relates especially to suppliers and their ability to respond to tenders and that sort of thing?
Sure, my pleasure. First, I would like to start with thank you for having us.
Of course.
Thanks for reaching out to AmCham, means a lot. And good morning to all the viewers, all the listeners, and everyone participating today. So the Act really and truly is designed to help have a good idea of where government is spending money. So any public funds that are being spent, the design is to make sure we know where, how much, why, and to make sure it's done in a proper manner.
Yeah.
All right, so that is what the Act is for. That is what the Act is designed for. You mentioned who needs to register. The reality is everybody and anybody that would like to conduct business with the government of Trinidad and Tobago, that wants to sell services or goods to the government of Trinidad and Tobago, ought to be registered.
Now, when you say government of TNT, you're talking state agencies as well, or just
Public
ministries?
sector.
Public sector.
Yes.
Ministries, state agencies.
Correct.
That sort
Public
of thing.
sector.
All right. I know that a lot of people have been getting trouble as it relates to, one, pre-qualifying, registering. But in addition to that, I understand that your members also had a few concerns as well. Can we talk about some of the challenges that they would have faced?
Sure. So the system itself is an online-based system. It's a depository. You have to log in, create a profile, and then you have to start populating the necessary details representing your organization into the platform. Once you are in the platform and you're registered on the platform, you then have to go through all of the different lines of business that are associated with your organization that your organization would like to provide to the public sector. And in that section, it's referred to pre-qualifying. So you have to pre-qualify for all the lines of business. That's where I believe, as also a user of the platform from Trinidad Systems angle, the first issue comes up because there's so many lines of business.
Yes.
Understanding which lines of business you need to pre-qual for and which lines of business the government would be issuing a tender under, for example. Yeah. Just to make sure that you're on the same page and that what you are registering for is what the government is going to put out the tender under. Or
Can you register for different lines of business, or more than one?
For sure. You can register for multiple. You can register for every single one you think is in line with your business. Okay. And remember, that's a pre-qual. Once you put through and you put in all your documentation and you pre-qual, then someone on the other side of the transaction will have to go in and approve you or move you up the system from being applied for your pre-qual to actually being pre-qualified.
Interesting.
Right? And then once you're in the system, you qualify as a potential person to do business with any government entity.
Now, do you have to do this every time? So, for example, I saw a tender with the Ministry of Trade. I did that. They approved. Okay, if I'm looking for the Attorney General's office or a state agency, I have to go back and apply again? I have to go back and pre-qualify again?
Fantastic question. And the answer is no, you don't.
Okay.
Once you're in the system, you're in the system and you're represented in the system. But again, the trick here is it's by line of business. So, for example, if your organization does two things, let's say you do computers and then you do networking, that's two different lines of business, and you have to understand. And under computers, there may be 4 lines of business. So you need to figure out which ones you want to register for. And if all, then all.
Yeah. I went to this site and I realized there's also a publish here aspect. So when I select my line of business, do I have to publish it so that the person on the other end can see?
You're asking all the right questions, man. The answer is yes. If you don't publish your data, then others will not be able to see. So yes, you have to publish.
Publish, okay. And as it relates to the different businesses, because I know sole trader would be different to versus, so let's say an LLC, that sort of thing. For sole trader, do you need to populate it with any information? Because I've realized that they're asking for articles of registration and stuff like that, and that may stump a few people when they go to register, especially as the sole proprietor.
Okay, I hope this is okay, and I hope I'm not sharing stuff prematurely here. But AmCham, as you mentioned, just had a session on Friday. Coming out of the launch, coming out of the time spent, we went to our membership. We sought information from them, feedback on the system, the concerns with the system. And rightfully, as you're describing, exactly what you're saying were the concerns. Where to pre-qualify, what to pre-qualify, what happens with your NIS, for example, or NID. It's only valid for 30 days. So I get it. I put it into the system, I qualify, but then a mere 2-3 weeks later, I could no longer be qualified because I'm no longer compliant because my NID has expired. All right, so one of the things that we raised is just that. I wanna say this, and I wanna say it, and I'm gonna look into the camera for it.
Yes,
I really want to thank the procurement regulator, Mrs. Beverly Khan, her team. They had 2 board members participate, and they had multiple team members participate. On our end, we had in excess of 160 members participate. So the call had about 190 people on it. And the team, starting with Mrs. Khan, was fantastic. We submitted information to them prior. They came extremely prepared. We're happy to answer all our questions, appreciative for the collaboration. And it really meant a lot, and we felt it on the call, the genuine nature in which it came across. And they were able to answer all our questions, even if it wasn't what we wanted to hear. We still got all the answers we required. And there are changes that are coming. There are changes that will be announced soon. And they are going to be what we want to hear as the private sector trying to do business with government. So it's all great news. And that collaboration is what we love as AmCham and what we look forward to with any ministry that would allow us to do it.
Now, I understand this session would have been for your members only. I know a lot of people, the next question would be, can we see as non-members, or is AmCham going to have another one for non-members?
So that is definitely something I can take back and discuss with the team. There was nothing top secret in there to say we can't share or anything. So yeah, I'm pretty sure we will be open to sharing and collaborating.
Going back to that question though, Stuart, so for example, for the businesses, you have to upload certain things. Do you also have to upload your statutory documents as well, or is that a change that might be coming in the future?
So the answer is today, yes, you do. But the answer is yes, that may be a change that's coming in the future, where instead of having to do that as part of the pre-qual, you'll actually do that as part of the tender stage.
Okay. Nice. And in terms of so once you're pre-qualified and you submit your lines of business, you publish that pre-qualification gives you access to a tender, or gives you access to submit services to a ministry, although you haven't qualified. Is that how it works?
So I'll do my best to represent them, and I'm sorry if I misrepresent. So basically how the system works is it puts you into a pool of potential resources for the government to consider. So the government decides that they want to buy teacups. They're going to go to market for teacups. They're going to go to that line of business called teacups, and they're going to see everyone that has taken the time and effort to come into the system, register in the system, and pre-qualify under teacups. Once you are in the system under teacups, you are legitimately able to be invited to tender and participate in the tender.
And you mentioned anybody can register, but anybody, of course, being over the age of 18 and doesn't have a requirement for nationality as well?
No, and that's a very good question. No, this is for both local and foreign suppliers. So it doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter where you're from. Once you want to provide goods or services to the government of Trinidad and Tobago, you need to be registered in the OPR.
There was, when the government went back to Parliament with one of the changes, there was that $1 million proposal sort of thing. Can you express or explain that a bit for us?
So again, I'll do my best, right? So there are and there were clauses already stated where there will be instances where you can adjust or you can remove yourself. So what I'll say is with all rules of engagement, there are exemptions to rules, right? So there were exemptions stated from the onset. I think this was just a sharpening up of that rule and stating details like, for example, the value. And that value agreed to was $1 million. So projects under $1 million can be exempt or can have a different stipulation, if you wish.
How do you see this helping the business community? Because a lot of people are saying it's great, apart from it giving everybody with a legitimate business the opportunity to tender for projects, it also puts accountability on the part of the government. And so do you see that working in a real world sense?
You answered the question and you answered it perfectly. You gave me my cues. So that's spot on. From a joint chambers perspective, that's exactly our desire. We would like to see the application be utilized to ensure that there's transparency in the system. And then from a private sector perspective, it's giving you the opportunity to work with government. As long as you're in the system and registered, you're now known by the government. Whereas before, you may have had to go through hoops to try and get known or try to get recognized or for the government to know that you provide a particular good or service. Now the system allows you, once you register, any government entity going out to market for that service via the system can see who you are, learn about your business, get some details about your business, and then give you the opportunity to provide the goods or service.
Yeah. For a new business who they are now kind of getting their foot wet in the project as well, they can be also regarded or considered for these projects as well?
Most definitely. And there's a lot of learning online as well. So if you go online, there are a lot of things that they've put up to try and assist people through the process. And failing that, if that's not working for you, reach out to them, pick up the phone and call. Our experience thus far with our reach out to them has been fantastic.
Yeah. And of course, how do you see this working in the long term? And I ask you that question because when it was proclaimed, we realized that there were certain teething problems and we had to go back to Parliament and that sort of thing. In long term, do you see this being a sustainable way for government to request services?
As long as we have the mindset that you just described, the answer is yes. As long as we know that it's not going to be perfect, it's going to need to tweak every now and then. And we as the users of the system and we as the government also using the system, so both sides need to understand that as time goes by, we will learn things together, we'll collaborate, and we will adjust accordingly. And as long as we have that attitude towards it, which is what has been demonstrated thus far to us, it will last. It will last and it will have the impact that we are looking for.
Yeah. Just to give viewers as well, Stuart, an overview of the type of services available, can you share the different sectors that your members would have represented from?
Oh, wow. All sectors, from construction to financial to IT to all sectors.
Yeah.
All
and I asked this because I didn't want the understanding to be it's only a particular sector, computing or whatever. It could be janitorial, as you mentioned before.
Any sector.
Yeah.
It could be providing plants. It could be providing vehicles. It could be any service that's provided for the government.
So on your end, you think that people, once they want to do work with government, they should register? And I ask that question because a lot of us there's always going to be doubt. You know, will I really be in this pool given a fair chance?
So happy to be devil's advocate. I'll pose the question in reverse. What do you stand to lose by registering? What's the negative of registering? There is absolutely no negative. So the best thing you can do for your organization, for your startup, you could be 40 years old, it doesn't matter. Register. Put yourself out there, put yourself into the system, be known by the government, and who knows, opportunities may come for you that you and your team members would have never even known existed. So put yourself out there, put yourself into the system, take the time, make the effort, and register.
Nice. Stuart, I think that's where we're going to leave it. I am going to be reaching out with you as it relates to the system as well, because I have many more questions, but I know unfortunately we're out of time. But let me thank you so much for joining us this morning, and I look forward to see if those sessions can be shared, because I know some of our viewers would love to get a lot of information that was discussed.
My pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
Of course. And that was Mr. Stuart Franco, the CEO of AmCham, just sharing a bit about some of the issues that were faced when some suppliers would have of course, encountered the public procurement platform. And of course, Mr. Stuart Franco, not CEO, but president of AmCham. In the Now Morning Show, we're going to take a break and be right back. Stay with us. Thank you.